If you could live green, would you? I'm Nick Fedorov, host of Things Green, where we introduce nuggets of green lifestyle from gardening, upcycling, answering your questions, sustainability, even discussing environmental issues. You can become more confident in making the right decisions for you and your family. So come along as we are Things Green. All right, so this can be kind of cool today. You ever think about it when you get a piece of junk in your yard and you decide to use it for some sort of garden ornament? And I came across this bicycle that was just rotting away. And what we ended up doing was we decided to take it into semi-permanently take and secure it over here. So what I did is I just took this rebar right here and I stuck it in the ground and I used some ties to tie it up, and I should probably cut the ends off. But anyway, it's gonna stay here and it's not gonna go anywhere. So I got to thinking, hey, look, we got ourselves a basket over here. Why don't we make a planter out of it, by golly, right? That's what I say. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna treat this as if it was a hanging basket. That's what we're gonna do, because that is a basket, only it's only hanging on the bicycle. That's what it's hanging on. So what are the elements that we need? Well, first off, we have to put our gloves on, although I'm going to take them off right now because I don't want them to get wet. So I have here some moss. This is what we call green moss. It's not peat moss. It's a stringy like material. And so what we're going to do is we're going to water this down, and we're going to put now if you wet all of this, and I'm not going to use all of this, there's no doubt about that. I'm not going to use all of it, but even so, it will dry out once you wring it out and you lay it out in the sun, and it'll dry out just fine. So I buy this usually in bulk, and the bulk container actually fits into this container right here, so you can tell how much I've used of this stuff as time goes on. So we're going to literally fill this whole thing up until that it just goes up to the very, well, not the very top, so we just need to cover this up. And the idea is that we have to just saturate this, super saturate it, because if we don't, it's gonna be harder to work with. So let's see how long this takes to fill up over here. I'm probably okay with it, not the end of the world. So we're gonna do this, and all right, good enough. Good enough. I guess I didn't need the gloves on after all, because I have to stick my hands in here, and I just want to make sure that everything gets nice and wet, and it's goopy and gooey and gushy looking, and it's actually kind of cool. Okay, so we're going to let that soak here for a second, and just for tickles, we're going to protect our hands here for a second, because I noticed that there's something going on with this peach tree right here that's really important for us to follow and to understand. You see, when we're talking about trees, we want to make sure that there's as much energy going into this plant as you could ever imagine. It's super important. We have to have this, the energy going into it. And if we look down here, we're going to see that we don't have any, we have what we call suckers. Now, these suckers are actually below the graft. This is right here. This is below the graft. This is actually above the graft, and this one's above the graft. So what they're doing is that they're literally taking the energy away from the plant, and we don't want the energy to be taken away from this plant. So what we're going to do is this. We're simply going to take a pair of our secateurs, and we're going to cut it off as close as we can. And then we'll come over here to this side, and we're going to do the same exact thing. Just try to cut it as close as you can. Now, since I do not use any kind of chemicals in my yard, or here at the Things Green Botanical Gardens, I should say, what we do here is, let's see, we have another one. So we're going to cut all these off because they're slurping the energy out of the tree before it gets up to the top where all of these flowers are, so they can develop their fruit. So what we're going to do here is that if I wanted to, there's a couple of things that we just leave it alone when they come up again, because they will come up again. We just got to come through and cut them off. Just don't allow them to get too big. We don't want them to get real big and thick with any kind of branching. Or what you can do is you can spray what is called a plant growth regulator on here. You can find that at your local nursery and garden center, and you would take and you would just spray it when the wounds are nice and clean. You spray it and it will hasten it and sometimes stop it 100% from growing. So it's something to kind of keep in your mind over there. All right, so now that we have that done, that's really kind of cool if you think about it. We're getting the energy into this whole plant. All right, so now what we want to do is that we want to come over here and do some shopping. And the shopping that we're going to do is, by the way, you ever see horseradish before? This is horseradish right here. Yeah, you could actually go to your market. You can market and you buy the horseradish and you just stick it in here and it'll grow. This is actually a second year's worth of horseradish that I have going. Anyway, let's come on over here to the nursery, or I should say to the greenhouse. Always have something going in here, always have something fun. Here we have some of our seedlings that are coming up, and remember, I like to make sure everything is labeled absolutely correct on these things. Our bell pepper is doing really good. Look at these snap peas. Oh man, now snap peas are kind of like weeds. You could take them and throw them in the ground. Chances are they are going to grow. All right, so what are we going to plant? We have a full sun situation out there, so that full sun, really important to make sure that we have the right kind of plant for the right job. It's pretty intense as far as that's concerned. But anyway, so we have some full sun plants over here. I'm actually going to use this one. This is an azalea, which is in the rhododendron family. Now, the flowers are spent, no big deal. We're just going to pull these flowers off like this, and it'll bloom again. Now, we have to remember with azaleas, there's two different varieties, shall we call it. There's a sun variety and there's a shade variety. Sun varieties do better in the shade than sun varieties do better in the shade than shade varieties do in the sun. So keep that in mind whenever you're shopping. This one right here, you know, you're going to get it at the store for around 13, 14 bucks. And it's going to be really nice for what we want. There's not a whole lot of room in that basket, and being that this is a 1 gallon size container, we kind of have to keep that in mind. You know, if I had smaller plants, well, we could use a smaller plant. It's not the end of the world, but let's see what we have going on here. Okay, chances are we do have our moss over here is actually doing really well. It's super saturated, so I think we could take the gloves off, only because it's wet. That's all, it's just wet. All right, so we have our basket, but this has too many holes. The dirt's gonna fall out. So that's why we use the green moss for this particular task here. Let's see if I can pick this up without hurting myself too much. No, this doesn't make any sense. I probably should have had a table or something. All right, so take your moss. You can squeeze it out a little bit if you wish. If you wish, you don't have to. Now what we do is that we line it, and we're going to line it with a couple of inches of this stuff. If you had, this stuff will actually spread very easily if you were to take and, you know, if you're going to squeeze it, by the way, you're going to squeeze it a lot. That's probably because you don't want to get your shoes wet or something, or depending on the area that we're working. Since we're working outside here, it's not going to make a big deal. So we're going to take this and just kind of put it around right here. Now we're going to do the sides. We're going to build up the sides of this. Okay, hopefully I have enough of this material here so I can do this proper like. Build up the sides. Again, be liberal with it. Very, very important. Okay, so put this over here like that. You know, if the truth is known, I don't have to make that much noise when I bend over to get this stuff. Sometimes I think, you know, if you wanted to, you can actually line this with some poultry wire, and if you line it with the poultry wire, you can use less of this, because this is so big right now. Big in the sense that these holes are big. I just want to make sure that I've got. Now look at, see, we can take and we can push it out a little bit. That's going to be just fine to do that. But yeah, if you were to have poultry wire in here, that would be nice too. This will make a nice netting over here. It's going to be really good. See, basically what we're doing now is that we're creating and we're making a basket. Well, it is a basket, but we're making a potted plant basket. That's what we're doing. We got a potted plant here. So I'm gonna go like this on the sides and put that like that. Isn't that nice? So this is a great project to do with the kids if you want. Oh, look at this. I'm almost done with this stuff, and I think I have barely just have enough. And you know what? If I really needed to, I could probably swipe it from someplace else, like from down here, and bring it up. In fact, that's what I just did. So does it look like we're doing? What do you think, camera dude? Looks good? Looks like a pot here now, doesn't it? Looks like a container. Okay, look at, so I'm gonna squeeze it tight. Make it tight like this. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. I'll put a little bit more right here. Why? Because we have more. What am I gonna do with just a handful of this stuff, right? So we're gonna go like this, squeeze it through. And being that this is in full sun, you know, you gotta just make sure that we keep it watered once the watering aspect happens on this. Unlike peat moss, this stuff right here will stay wet. Will get wet again. You know, peat moss doesn't get wet. Doesn't wet. Okay, so now we have our potted plant. This soil is really dry right now, but that's okay. Oh, look at the worms! Can you see the worms? Oh, so cool, so cool. That is nature's fertilizer right there. So excited about that. Okay, so I never measured this, but look at that. It's almost the right size. It's almost the right size because you want about an inch below so that water can be in there. Oh, that's cool. So we're there. We're there. And look how nicely it's starting to fill. It's filling it all up. Now what we want to do, we want to get our soil and put some soil in here. So our soil is a nice mix. Now this mix right here, what's really cool about it is that it has this stuff right here, and this is perlite. Perlite has water capabilities, water saving capabilities. You know what, I'm actually going to raise this a little bit. I'm looking at it now, it might be a little too low. Yeah, there, that's better, that's better. That better? Yeah, that's better. And we'll put a little bit over here, and we'll put a little bit on the other side. Now, you could put any kind of plants in here. It doesn't matter. You could put flowers. You know what I had in here? I did this before on another bicycle. I actually had spider plant in here. Spider plants are pretty cool, by the way. The spider plant is hands down one of the easiest plants to grow. It is a beginner plant 100%. Now, if you notice what I'm doing here, I'm pushing it down. We got to push it down with our fingers, and look at that. See, I had it to the top over here, and now we've got it kind of squished down. Now, I don't want you to take and to squish it down so it's so tight that the plant can't breathe. So we'll do that right here. Yeah, we'll do a little more. So this is really pretty cool. Yes. I love it when a plan comes together like this. Nice. Okay. So, all right, so what we did here is that we created a planter out of a bicycle. How cool is this? We had the basket that's there. We took and we got all of our moss over here, green moss, nice and wet, beautiful stuff. Is this inexpensive? No, it's very expensive. You can buy it by the bag, or you can buy it in bulk. I buy it in bulk. I get these big blocks of it. And anyway, so whenever you have a planting situation where you need to have all these, we have all these holes, and you don't want it to move out, then that's what you're doing. Let me show you something that's actually kind of different. So I use this container right here. See this? This is just a little laundry container, dish thing. See, it has the holes on it on the side. If I wanted to, I could put moss in there, green moss, and then put my soil in here and grow something in that. Because that's really a lot of air, if you may, for the soil to stay in there. It's a lot of holes for that. All right, so what do we do next? We just don't walk away. We need to treat this like any other kind of plant. We're gonna water it. Actually, let's do this. And I think, why waste the water, right? So we're gonna just take this, dump it in here, let it go all the way through. Is that cool or what? Nice. All right. So something different that you could do in your yard and garden. Again, these are azaleas, beautiful. Let's just dump this in here because that's not wasting it. Pull off all these dead flowers. Spent flowers, I can call them spent flowers, not necessarily dead flowers. We have this plant tag on here. Plant tag should give you information on here on what it is. Yeah, a lot of information on there and how to grow it. So remember, you want to use full sun azalea for full sun. Never put a shade of azalea in the shade. Take care of it. This whole thing will bloom. This will probably eventually get about this big because it's in a container. If it's not in a container and you have it in the ground, it'll get 3 to 4 feet tall. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Really looks good. And if you're in the business of doing some upcycling, you know, if you have maybe a favorite bike of yours that you want to do something with, and maybe it's not usable any longer. I think the only thing usable in this is the bell, and it makes a very interesting garden piece. You don't have to take and put it in the ground 100%. You could take and you could move it around if you may. I've done some really crazy stuff in my time. I actually took a motorcycle once and I put it in the landscape and I let the kids play on it while they were growing up. I didn't make a planter out of it because, you know, they were and of course it wasn't a working motorcycle. So with that being said, this is the way we make a bicycle planter just for you. You would think that I planted this for how beautiful it is. Well, I kind of did last year, and it was overtaken by squash. This was the heirloom squash area, and what has happened is that it has receded, kind of like my hairline. Boom, boom. Okay, so what's happening here is that it's in the way because these are tomato cages, and I want the tomatoes to be in this area. I like to rotate the crop. See how that says tomato? Can you see that? Yeah, that says tomato. It says tomato on both sides. Anyway, so what I want to do is I want to see if I can't transplant this. And when you do the transplanting, it may or may not be successful. You have to get enough of the root ball in order for it to transplant properly. Now, right now, it's got a bigger root system on it. I would have been better off if the plant was, you know, tiny like this, but we just didn't have any time, and you blink your eyes and overnight the plant can kind of get this big. So what we're gonna do is something real simple here. We're just gonna get ourselves a shovel, and we're gonna find where that is at, and we're gonna go inside like this, and I'm just gonna try to get as much as possible here. Okay, so I mean, it's a good thing that these are not really that, you know, harshly rooted. They're not deep rooted, although I am pulling out roots. All right, so the second you start pulling out roots, you're going to have a problem with the thing starting to wilt on you. So kind of keep that in mind. So I have several volunteers. In fact, look at that one right there. That's a volunteer. That one actually is also a volunteer for, that's a different kind of squash right there. And then we have our other plants, which are the Armenian cucumbers, the real long ones. These are real long ones. And those right there were also pretty prominent in our yard. Heirlooms, they're all our heirlooms. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put this one on the corner. We'll take and we'll put that one over here. And these are gonna be sprawling plants. And then I'm gonna take that other one, which is the cucumber, and it's gonna get tall. Now, if these plants survive, it's not the end, it'd be great. If they don't, it's not the end of the world, because they're volunteers. I didn't do anything. Like for instance, if we can get this right down over here, we can get, and we can see this right here. This is a volunteer tomato right here. We pull this out, it's the right size. It'll probably, I know it'll grow. Just get some root with it. This right here is some broccoli that was growing out. I had some lettuce someplace that was growing too. Maybe the chickens ate it or something. But anyway, isn't that just kind of a cool thing in general to know that this is a potential thing? All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. I am going to dig a hole right here, and I could use the shovel because that would be a good thing to do, I guess, huh? Falling apart. Just gotta be aware of that, it's just what happens. So I'm gonna dig this away. And by the way, if you happen to have a dog and your dog is digging in your yard, that's probably because they've seen you digging in the yard. So if you dig in the yard, they're gonna dig in the yard. You always wanna put your dog someplace else so they don't see you, because they're really good for monkey see, monkey do. All right, now I'm gonna put a little bit of humic acid, natural organic material that's gonna help with the rooting of this, you know, because this is being transplanted. This is a huge, what do you call it? Shock factor for it. So get this, a little too deep, at the end of the world. Bring some soil in here, go like this, punch it down, and we're gonna go like this. Yeah, I think this is what we're gonna do. And I'm gonna cover this up like this, and then I'm just gonna go like this, pat it down. Yeah, that's nice. I love it when that happens. Now, if I really wanted to, I can actually pinch this back, because we didn't get the whole root system, and it knows it. It knows something funny is going on. So if I wanted to, I could either take a pair of pruners or something. Look at, just pull that off. Look how much it pulled off. Isn't that something? In fact, this was already starting to blossom out to have some fruit on it, some vegetables. So did that. We're gonna lose some of these bigger leaves. That just happens. That's just the nature of the game. And again, if it doesn't do what I want it to, it's not the end of the world, because they were volunteers anyhow. I wasn't too sure what I was gonna plant in here in the first place. I just know this much. Mrs. Things Green said, don't plant too much this year, because I plant too much every single year. You know, when you have the volunteers, they're just so cool. So again, I'll put this squash here. I've got a different squash variety that's gonna go there. And then on the end over there, we'll get those real long Armenian heirloom cucumbers. Oh, those are so good. And of course, once it's all transplanted out, you can tell our soil's a little bit on the dry side. It'll get the irrigation that it needs. And once it has the irrigation that it needs, we'll cross our fingers and come out here and talk to it real nicely. And hopefully it's going to give us some absolutely wonderful crops. Hi, I'm Nick Federoff, and thank you for joining me here on Things Green, where I give you a wealth of information, whether it's gardening, sustainability, we could be talking about construction stuff, we've even been to airports. You just never know where we're going to end up, but I can guarantee you this much, we have information and ideas for you that you can use for your lifestyle, and at the very least, talk about it around the water cooler. That's me with me, Nick Federoff, here on Things Green.